Welcome to this year's African Development Bank annual meetings. Set in a world reeling from the impact of COVID-19, Africa's GDP is expected to drop 3.4% this year.
That facility is to provide resources for immediate liquidity for the countries, support the countries to be able to buy the equipment that they need, to be able to support the private sector in particular. Don't forget, the private sector is the key for the economy.
The bank acted swiftly to support its regional member countries navigate the uncharted waters of COVID-19. A $10 billion COVID-19 response facility was approved by the board in April to bring immediate relief where it's needed most. From the east to the west, the bank's responsiveness is being felt on the entire continent. North Africa received $737.4 million for pandemic screenings. 4 million households in the informal sector were helped, and 3/4 of their jobs will be preserved. In West Africa, $213.2 million helped compensate for the decline in tourism and transport. East Africa, challenged by both COVID and locusts, received $215.9 million to fight a potential food crisis. In Central Africa, $210.5 million offset a sharp drop in revenues and increased public health resources. In Southern Africa, $624.6 million supported social safety nets and strengthened small and medium-sized enterprises. The bank was able to achieve all this and much more because it has strong and growing funding sources. In 2019, a historic and the largest ever $115 billion capital injection was endorsed by the Board of Governors. $7.5 billion were also pledged for the African Development Fund, the concessional arm of the bank, helping lift millions in Africa's most vulnerable nations. Demand for financing remains robust and growing, with $10 billion of new approvals in 2019. Over the last 5 years, the bank's portfolio has increased by 47%. Its many recent transformative projects include Senegambia Bridge, Zambia's Iteji Dam, Eswatini's Lucid Irrigation Project, and Tunisia's One Tech Factory project. The bank's Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation initiative will boost food production and enhance incomes for 40 million farmers across 28 countries over the next 5 years. Today, more than ever, the bank empowers women. Its Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative aims at bridging the $42 billion financing gap facing women entrepreneurs in Africa. So far, the initiative has received commitments from G7 members, including France, the UK, Canada, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Rwanda.
There is no Africa we want. There is no progress on this continent if they are not included. Now is the time. They have to seize it. This is the call that I will like to make.
In July 2019, the African Continental Free Trade Area started operations and laid the foundations for the world's largest free trade zone worth $3 trillion. After an exceptionally successful maiden edition, the 2019 Africa Investment Forum reached for new heights with investor interest secured for 52 deals worth $40 billion. While no one could have foreseen the coronavirus, but it was during this unprecedented COVID-19 crisis that the bank floated a first-of-its-kind $3 billion social bond. It is the largest dollar-denominated social bond in capital markets, listed on the stock exchanges of Luxembourg, London, and the Nasdaq. It was in the difficult days of lockdown that both Fitch and Standard & Poor's reaffirmed the bank's AAA rating. This demonstrates not only financial strength, but also confidence in the bank and in the continent's development prospects. In the face of adversity, the African Development Bank continues to build prosperity and transform Africa's economies. What is at stake is nothing less than a better future for hundreds of millions of Africans and the African Development Bank's unwavering commitment and unrelenting efforts to making a difference.
Déclare ouverte les assemblées annuelles 2020 du groupe de la Banque africaine de développement. C'est l'occasion pour moi de saluer la Banque africaine de développement, son président et son conseil d'administration pour le soutien sans faille exprimé en ces moments difficiles aux États africains.
As we meet today, the world has changed. Global COVID-19 health pandemic has upended all plans, including travels. Health and safety have become primary for all decision-making. That's why the governors of the African Development Bank Group took the extraordinary decision to hold the annual meetings virtually, first time in the history. Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Notre mandat, vous le savez, a été jalonné par des événements majeurs qui, à notre sens, changeront certainement et durablement le visage de notre institution.
La famille de la Banque africaine de développement s'est agrandie, passant de 80 à 81 pays. Je vous invite à vous joindre à moi pour souhaiter la bienvenue à notre nouveau membre, la République d'Irlande, qui nous rejoint officiellement au cours de ces assemblées annuelles. Together, we are stronger. Together, we achieve more. Together, we become resilient. Together, we build a better bank. Together, we win for Africa. The 2020 annual meetings of the African Development Bank have been exciting, intense, rich in debate and dialogues. That's what we do at the African Development Bank, thinking, mapping out new ways we can better support Africa. We discuss ways in which the bank will support Africa to rebuild better and stronger from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. We discuss how to further strengthen our institution. We discuss how to achieve long-term financial sustainability of the bank. We heard you, and I hear you.
Nous prenons note des énormes défis posés par la pandémie de COVID-19 et notamment des graves perturbations qu'elle engendre dans les plans de développement de nos pays membres régionaux. À cet égard, nous félicitons le groupe de la Banque d'avoir adopté la facilité de réponse rapide à la COVID-19 pour fournir une gamme flexible de solutions exceptionnelles de soutien afin d'atténuer les graves conséquences économiques et sociales de la pandémie au sein de nos PME.
Ceci est le résultat de l'effort conjugué de tous. Et je voudrais tous vous remercier de ce travail collectif qui nous permet aujourd'hui de montrer notre unité dans la volonté d'accompagner notre banque.
Nous avons réélu Dr Akin Gumi, Ayodele Adesina, de la République fédérale du Nigeria, comme président du groupe de la banque pour les 5 prochaines années et lui souhaitons plein succès dans la conduite des travaux du groupe de la banque.
I still am awed by the results that we have just seen. Unanimity in this room, 100% voting, true breakthrough moment. Congratulations, Mr. President Adesina, and may we continue to make history, especially in these 5 years, your next term.
I am deeply grateful for your collective trust, confidence, and support. I am greatly honored and humbled. It is yet another call, a call for selfless service to Africa and the African Development Bank. Today, a rainbow stretches from 81 member countries of the African Development Bank across the deep blue skies of Africa with one message: the rain is gone.
This year's annual meetings are taking place virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has plagued the entire world and hindered physical interaction. The bank, like other institutions, finds itself compelled to host its annual meetings virtually to be able to do and continue its business.
Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Je voudrais signaler la décision historique du conseil d'administration de la banque qui a approuvé la facilité de réponse rapide contre la COVID-19 dotée de 10 milliards de dollars américains destinés à financer les plans de sortie de crise et à aider les pays membres régionaux et le secteur privé.
Africa needs a strong to the constitutive texts of our bank.
Since 2015, the high-five investment priorities have been the heart of the African Development Bank's agenda, and its achievements have been profound. Electricity access for over 20 million people, improved agricultural technology for 74 million people, private sector investment projects impacting nearly 10 million people, better transport infrastructure for over 69 million people, and improved access to water and sanitation for nearly 43 million people. Though the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic has brought significant challenges, as have the locust invasion in East Africa, but looking back, the ground covered so far has been impressive. Over the past few years, the African Development Bank Group has stepped up its efforts to develop a pipeline of bankable projects, support its regional member countries, and increase public-private partnerships. In 2019, approvals for Light Up and Power Africa reached $2.3 billion. Solar power in the desert of Morocco is already a success, with the Noor Ouarzazate solar power plant generating 580 megawatts. The bank has funded 2 other solar plants, Midelt 1 and 2, which will ultimately guarantee electricity for over 2 million Moroccans and significantly curb greenhouse gases.
تلقى واحد شويه واحد البلاصه زوين وكذا يعجبك وتلقى بلاصه اخرى ما عجبتك لان الضوء دابا بحال قلتي واحد الثلث ديال الصير اللي بقيت عليه تقريبا.
Looking ahead, with 60 million people lacking access to electricity in the Sahel region, the bank initiated the Desert to Power initiative to fast-track solar technologies in the G5 Sahel and accelerate economic development. In Zambia, the bank provided $37 million for the Iteji-Teji hydropower station and 237 kilometers transmission line. It generates clean, reliable electricity for nearly 1 million people.
The impact is quite obvious. The coming up of this power plant has brought in employment in the district.
Approvals in 2019 for Feed Africa totaled more than $1.2 billion. In Eswatini's Lower Usutu River Basin, farmers were not getting enough water until the African Development Bank invested $62 million to fund a reservoir, pipes and sprinkler systems to irrigate 11,500 hectares. The land has been transformed into lush fields.
Farming is now good because now we have reliable water. There is no time whereby you will stop just because there is no water.
Financing innovative industrial solutions is a bank priority. In 2019 alone, the Industrialize Africa High Five provided 49,800 small businesses with access to financial services, and approvals reached $2.07 billion. The M3 Modern Mill of Mali received bank funding to expand into 7 food production lines, creating specialized job opportunities.
Je m'appelle Mme Damili. Je suis une électricienne à M3. C'est une fierté pour tous les Maliens et toutes les femmes qui font l'électricité.
Regional integration aims to create larger, more competitive markets, link landlocked countries to international markets, and support intra-African trade. Approvals for Integrate Africa totaled $2.13 billion in 2019, almost double the amount approved in 2018. In 2019, cars, trucks, and pedestrians plied the new Senegambia Bridge, linking the Gambia and Senegal, thanks to a $93 million investment by the African Development Bank. It is ushering in a new era of connectivity and integration for the 2 West African nations. Improving the quality of life for the people of Africa is another bank priority that continues to impact lives on the continent. Approvals last year totaled $2.3 billion. The bank invested 10 million euros in the Information and Communication Technology program at Rwanda's Carnegie Mellon University Africa campus.
We've got the best and smartest researchers in Africa, and I get to work with Rwandans, with Kenyans, with Tanzanians, people from all across Africa.
An elite group of young people are receiving training to meet Africa's information technology needs. They represent the future, and they are among the over 200 million people who have been impacted by high-five priority investments. The African Development Bank is committed to fostering a prosperous future for Africa. We are making a difference.
We need to take what is happening in Africa very, very seriously.
So scary, so painful. You can't resist. You are getting irritable. You don't know what to do.
Countries have imposed restrictions on public gatherings and international travel.
There could be a second wave of the virus by December that's worse than the first.
Welcome to this year's African Development Bank annual meetings. Set in a world reeling from the impact of COVID-19, Africa's GDP is expected to drop 3.4% this year.
Our facility is to provide resources for immediate liquidity for the countries, support the countries to be able to buy the equipment that they need, to be able to support the private sector in particular. Don't forget, the private sector is the key for the economy.
The bank acted swiftly to support its regional member countries navigate the uncharted waters of COVID-19. A $10 billion COVID-19 response facility was approved by the board in April to bring immediate relief where it's needed most. From the east to the west, the bank's responsiveness is being felt on the entire continent. North Africa received $737.4 million for pandemic screenings. 4 million households in the informal sector were helped, and 3/4 of their jobs will be preserved. In West Africa, $213.2 million helped compensate for the decline in tourism and transport. East Africa, challenged by both COVID and locusts, received $215.9 million to fight a potential food crisis. In Central Africa, $210.5 million offset a sharp drop in revenues and increased public health resources. In Southern Africa, $624.6 million supported social safety nets and strengthened small and medium-sized enterprises. The bank was able to achieve all this and much more because it has strong and growing funding sources. In 2019, a historic and the largest ever $115 billion capital injection was endorsed by the Board of Governors. $7.5 billion were also pledged for the African Development Fund, the concessional arm of the bank, helping lift millions in Africa's most vulnerable nations. Demand for financing remains robust and growing, with $10 billion of new approvals in 2019. Over the last 5 years, the bank's portfolio has increased by 47%. Its many recent transformative projects include Senegambia Bridge, Zambia's Iteji Dam, Eswatini's Lucip Irrigation Project, and Tunisia's One Tech Factory Project. The bank's Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation Initiative will boost food production and enhance incomes for 40 million farmers across 28 countries over the next 5 years. Today, more than ever, the bank empowers women. Its Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative aims at bridging the $42 billion financing gap facing women entrepreneurs in Africa. So far, the initiative has received commitments from G7 members, including France, the UK, Canada, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Rwanda.
There is no Africa we want. There is no progress on this continent if they are not included. Now is the time. They have to seize it. This is the call that I will like to make.
In July 2019, the African Continental Free Trade Area started operations and laid the foundations for the world's largest free trade zone worth $3 trillion. After an exceptionally successful maiden edition, the 2019 Africa Investment Forum reached for new heights, with investor interest secured for 52 deals worth $40 billion. While no one could have foreseen the coronavirus, but it was during this unprecedented COVID-19 crisis that the bank floated a first-of-its-kind $3 billion social bond. It is the largest dollar-denominated social bond in capital markets, listed on the stock exchanges of Luxembourg, London, and the Nasdaq. It was in the difficult days of lockdown that both Fitch and Standard & Poor's reaffirmed the bank's AAA rating. This demonstrates not only financial strength, but also confidence in the bank and in the continent's development prospects. In the face of adversity, the African Development Bank continues to build prosperity and transform Africa's economies. What is at stake is nothing less than a better future for hundreds of millions of Africans, and the African Development Bank's unwavering commitment and unrelenting efforts to making a difference.
Oui, c'était ça. En fait, on avait utilisé la caméra.
Bon, maintenant, il faut que quelqu'un s'asseye pour que je vois. Allez. Il y a déjà le corona. Bon, mais quelqu'un. Un jeune comme ça, le supporter du Real.
Déclare ouverte les assemblées annuelles 2020 de la Banque africaine de développement. C'est l'occasion pour moi de saluer la Banque africaine de développement, son président et son conseil d'administration.
Oui, maintenant, regarde comment tu nous vois. Maintenant c'est net.
Exprimé en ces moments difficiles aux États africains.
As we meet today, the world has changed. Global COVID-19 health pandemic has upended all plans, including travels. Health and safety have become primary for all decision-making. That's why the governors of the African Development Bank Group took the extraordinary decision to hold the annual meetings virtually, first time in the history. Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Notre mandat, vous le savez, a été jalonné par des événements majeurs qui, à notre sens, changeront certainement et durablement le visage de notre institution.
La famille de la Banque africaine de développement s'est agrandie, passant de 80 à 81 pays. Je vous invite à vous joindre à moi pour souhaiter la bienvenue à notre nouveau membre, la République d'Irlande, qui nous rejoint officiellement au cours de ces assemblées annuelles. Together, we are stronger. Together, we achieve more. Together, we become resilient. Together, we build a better bank. Together, we win for Africa. The 2020 annual meetings of the African Development Bank have been exciting, intense, rich in debate and dialogues, That's what we do at the African Development Bank, thinking, mapping out new ways we can better support Africa. We discuss ways in which the bank will support Africa to rebuild better and stronger from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. We discuss how to further strengthen our institution. We discuss how to achieve long-term financial sustainability of the bank. We heard you, and I hear you.
Nous prenons note des énormes défis posés par la pandémie de COVID-19 et notamment des graves perturbations qu'elle engendre dans les plans de développement de nos pays membres régionaux. À cet égard, nous félicitons le groupe de la banque d'avoir adopté la facilité de réponse rapide à la COVID-19 pour fournir une gamme flexible de solutions exceptionnelles de soutien afin d'atténuer les graves conséquences économiques et sociales de la pandémie au sein de nos PME.
Ceci est le résultat de l'effort conjugué de tous. Et je voudrais tous vous remercier de ce travail collectif qui nous permet aujourd'hui de montrer notre unité dans la volonté d'accompagner notre banque.
Nous avons réélu Dr Akin Gumi, AODG, Adeshina, de la République fédérale du Nigeria, comme président du groupe de la banque pour les 5 prochaines années et lui souhaitons plein succès dans la conduite des travaux du groupe de la banque.
I still am awed by the results that we have just seen. Unanimity in this room, 100% voting, a true breakthrough moment. Congratulations, Mr. President Adesina, and may we continue to make history, especially in these 5 years, your next term.
I am deeply grateful for your collective trust, confidence, and support. I am greatly honored and humbled. It is yet another call, a call for selfless service to Africa and the African Development Bank. Today, a rainbow stretches from 81 member countries of the African Development Bank across the deep blue skies of Africa with one message.
Hi.
Is God.
This year's annual meetings are taking place virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has plagued the entire world and hindered physical interaction. The bank, like other institutions, finds itself compelled to host its annual meetings virtually to be able to do and continue its business.
Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Je voudrais signaler la décision historique du conseil d'administration de la banque qui a approuvé la facilité de réponse rapide contre la COVID-19 dotée de 10 milliards de dollars américains destinés à financer les plans de sortie de crise et à aider les pays membres régionaux et le secteur privé.
Africa needs a strong and stable African Development Bank Group to support it through this pandemic and to help its economies rebound for better, healthier lives and livelihoods for its peoples. And the African Development Bank needs you, our shareholders, as you always have been, united and strong.
Allô? Allô?
Deux événements importants dans la vie de notre institution ont
Allô?
marqué l'année 2019 et présageaient d'une année 2020 pleine de promesses. Il s'agit notamment de l'augmentation historique à Abidjan de 125% du capital de la Banque africaine de développement et de la reconstitution du Fonds africain de développement soutenu par l'ensemble des gouverneurs, relevant ainsi la capacité d'intervention de notre banque au profit du développement de notre continent. Cette belle perspective a malheureusement été perturbée par la pandémie de Covid-19, qui n'a épargné aucun continent.
We also made history by re-electing me by 100% vote. Via a vote, I became the first president of the bank in its history to be re-elected by 100% vote of all its shareholders. And I'm most grateful and very appreciative. This was very important. It shows the transparency of our bank. It shows your demonstrated weight of support behind my vision. It shows a very clear and strong mandate from all shareholders to go and implement the vision. It shows that all voices were heard. It shows that we are true to the constitutive texts of our bank.
Since 2015, the high-five investment priorities have been the heart of the African Development Bank's agenda, and its achievements have been profound. Electricity access for over 20 million people, improved agricultural technology for 74 million people, private sector investment projects impacting nearly 10 million people, better transport infrastructure for over 69 million people, and improved access to water and sanitation for nearly 43 million people. Though the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic has brought significant challenges, as have the locust invasion in East Africa, but looking back, the ground covered so far has been impressive. Over the past few years, the African Development Bank Group has stepped up its efforts to develop a pipeline of bankable projects, support its regional member countries, and increase public-private partnerships. In 2019, approvals for Light Up and Power Africa reached $2.3 billion. Solar power in the desert of Morocco is already a success, with the Noor Ouazzazate solar power plant generating 580 megawatts. The bank has funded 2 other solar plants, Midelt 1 and 2, which will ultimately guarantee electricity for over 2 million Moroccans and significantly curb greenhouse gases.
واحد شويه واحد البلاصه زوين وكذا يعجبك تلقى بلاصه اخرى ما عجبتش لان الضوء دابا بحال قلتي واحد الثلث ديال الصاير اللي وقفت عليه تقريبا.
Oh, I can't hear you. Let me try something.
Looking ahead, with 60 million people lacking access to electricity in the Sahel region, the bank initiated the Desert to Power initiative, electricity for nearly 1 million people.
The impact is quite obvious. The coming up of this power plant has brought in employment in the district.
Approvals in 2019 for Feed Africa totaled more than $1.2 billion. In Eswatini's Lower Usutu River Basin, farmers were not getting enough water until the African Development Bank invested $62 million to fund a reservoir, pipes and sprinkler systems to irrigate 11,500 hectares. The land has been transformed into lush fields.
Farming is now good because now we have reliable water. There is no time whereby you stop just because there is no water.
Financing innovative industrial solutions is a bank priority. In 2019 alone, the Industrialize Africa High Five provided 49,800 small businesses with access to financial services, and approvals reached $2.07 billion. The M3 Modern Mill of Mali received bank funding to expand into 7 food production lines, creating specialized job opportunities.
Je m'appelle Mam Damili, je suis une électricienne à M3. C'est une fierté pour tous les Maliens et toutes les femmes qui font l'électricité.
Regional integration aims to create larger, more competitive markets, link landlocked countries to international markets, and support intra-African trade. Approvals for Integrate Africa totaled $2.13 billion in 2019, almost double the amount approved in 2018. In 2019, cars, trucks, and pedestrians plied the new Senegambia Bridge, linking the Gambia and Senegal, thanks to a $93 million investment by the African Development Bank. It is ushering in a new era of connectivity and integration for the two West African nations. Improving the quality of life for the people of Africa is another bank priority that continues to impact lives on the continent. Approvals last year totaled $2.3 billion. The bank invested 10 million euros in the Information and Communication Technology program at Rwanda's Carnegie Mellon University Africa campus.
We've got the best and smartest researchers in Africa, and I get to work with Rwandans, with Kenyans, with Tanzanians, people from all across Africa.
An elite group of young people are receiving training to meet Africa's information technology needs. They represent the future, and they are among the over 200 million people who have been impacted by High Five priority investments. The African Development Bank is committed to fostering a prosperous future for Africa. We are making a difference.
Restrictions on public gatherings and international travel.
There could be a second wave of the virus by December that's worse than the first.
Welcome to this year's African Development Bank annual meetings. Set in a world reeling from the impact of COVID-19, Africa's GDP is expected to drop 3.4% this year.
Our facility is to provide resources for immediate liquidity for the countries, support the countries to be able to buy the equipment that they need, to be able to support the private sector in particular. Don't forget, the private sector is the key to the economy.
The bank acted swiftly to support its regional member countries navigate the uncharted waters of COVID-19. A $10 billion COVID-19...
Immediately afterwards, he was in the Volta region, and he was just ecstatic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was just ecstatic. So he's been out.
The bank's responsiveness is being felt on the entire continent. North Africa received $737.4 million for pandemic screenings. 4 million households in the informal sector were helped, and 3/4 of their jobs will be preserved. In West Africa, $213.2 million helped compensate for the decline in tourism and transport. East Africa, challenged by both COVID and locusts, received $215.9 million to fight a potential food crisis. In Central Africa, $210.5 million offset a sharp drop in revenues and increased public health resources. In Southern Africa, $624.6 million supported social safety nets and strengthened small and medium-sized enterprises. The bank was able to achieve all this and much more because it has strong and growing funding sources. In 2019, a historic and the largest ever $115 billion capital injection was endorsed by the Board of Governors. $7.5 billion were also pledged for the African Development Fund, the concessional arm of the bank, helping lift millions in Africa's most vulnerable nations. Demand for remains robust and growing, with $10 billion of new approvals in 2019. Over the last 5 years, the bank's portfolio has increased by 47%. Its many recent transformative projects include Senegambia Bridge, Zambia's Iteji Dam, Eswatini's Lucip Irrigation Project, and Tunisia's One Tech Factory Project. The bank's Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation Initiative and enhance incomes for 40 million farmers across 28 countries over the next 5 years. Today, more than ever, the bank empowers women. Its Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative aims at bridging the $42 billion financing gap facing women entrepreneurs in Africa. So far, the initiative has received commitments from G7 members, including France, the UK, Canada, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Rwanda.
There is no Africa we want. There is no progress on this continent if they are not included. Now is the time. They have to seize it. This is the call that I would like to make.
In July 2019, the African Continental Free Trade Area started operations and laid the foundations for the world's largest free trade zone worth $3 trillion. After an exceptionally successful maiden edition, the 2019 Africa Investment Forum reached for new heights, with investor interest secured for 52 deals worth $40 billion. While no one could have foreseen the coronavirus, but it was during this unprecedented COVID-19 crisis that the bank floated a first-of-its-kind $3 billion social bond. It is the largest dollar-denominated social bond in capital markets, listed on the stock exchanges of Luxembourg.
We need to take what is happening in Africa very, very seriously.
So scary, so painful. You can't resist. You are getting irritable. You don't know what to do.
Countries have imposed restrictions on public gatherings and international travel.
There could be a second wave of the virus by December that's worse than the first.
Welcome to this year's African Development Bank annual meetings. Set in a world reeling from the impact of COVID-19, Africa's GDP is expected to drop 3.4% this year.
Our facility is to support the private sector in particular. Don't forget the private sector is the key for the economy.
The bank acted swiftly to support its regional member countries navigate the uncharted waters of COVID-19. A $10 billion COVID-19 response facility was approved by the board in April to bring immediate relief where it's needed most. From the east to the west, the bank's responsiveness is being felt on the entire continent. North Africa received $737.4 million for pandemic screenings. 4 million households in the informal sector were helped, and 3/4 of their jobs will be preserved. In West Africa, $213.2 million helped compensate for the decline in tourism and transport. East Africa, challenged by both COVID and locusts, received $215.9 million to fight a potential food crisis. In Central Africa, $210.5 million offset a sharp drop in revenues and increased public health resources. In Southern Africa, $624.6 million supported social safety nets and strengthened small and medium-sized enterprises. The bank was able to achieve all this and much more because it has strong and growing funding sources. In 2019, a historic and the largest ever $115 billion capital injection was endorsed by the Board of Governors. $7.5 billion were also pledged for the African Development Fund, the concessional arm of the bank, helping lift millions in Africa's most vulnerable nations. Demand for financing remains robust and growing, with $10 billion of new approvals in 2019. Over the last 5 years, the bank's portfolio has increased by 47%. Its many recent transformative projects include Senegambia Bridge, Zambia's Iteji Dam, Eswatini's Lusip Irrigation Project, and Tunisia's One Tech Factory Project. The bank's Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation Initiative will boost food production and enhance incomes for 40 million farmers across 28 countries over the next 5 years. Today, more than ever, the bank empowers women. Its Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative aims at bridging the $42 billion financing gap facing women entrepreneurs in Africa. So far, the initiative has received commitments from G7 members, including France, the UK, Canada, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Rwanda.
There is no Africa we want. There is no progress on this continent if they are not included. Now is the time. They have to seize it. This is the call that I will like to make.
In July 2019, the African Continental Free Trade Area started operations and laid the foundations for the world's largest free trade zone worth $3 trillion. After an exceptionally successful maiden edition, the 2019 Africa Investment Forum reached for new heights with investor interest secured for 52 deals worth $40 billion. While no one could have foreseen the coronavirus, but it was during this unprecedented COVID-19 crisis that the bank floated a first-of-its-kind $3 billion social bond. It is the largest dollar-denominated social bond in capital markets, listed on the stock exchanges of Luxembourg, London, and the Nasdaq. It was in the difficult days of lockdown that both Fitch and Standard & Poor's reaffirmed the bank's AAA rating. This demonstrates not only financial strength, but also confidence in the bank and in the continent's development prospects. In the face of adversity, the African Development Bank continues to build prosperity and transform Africa's economies. What is at stake is nothing less than a better future for hundreds of millions of Africans, and the African Development Bank's unwavering commitment and unrelenting efforts to making a difference.
Déclare ouvertes les assemblées annuelles 2020 du groupe de la Banque africaine de développement. C'est l'occasion pour moi de saluer la Banque africaine de développement, son président et son conseil d'administration pour le soutien sans faille exprimé en ces moments difficiles aux États africains.
As we meet today, the world has changed. Global COVID-19 health pandemic has upended all plans, including travels. Health and safety have become primary for all decision-making. That's why the governors of the African Development Bank Group took the extraordinary decision to hold the annual meetings virtually, first time in the history. Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Notre mandat, vous le savez, a été jalonné par des événements majeurs qui, à notre sens, changeront certainement et durablement le visage de notre institution.
La famille de la Banque africaine de développement s'est agrandie, passant de 80 à 81 pays. Je vous invite à vous joindre à moi pour souhaiter la bienvenue à notre nouveau membre, la République d'Irlande, qui nous rejoint officiellement au cours de ces assemblées annuelles. Together, we are stronger. Together, we achieve more. Together, we become resilient. Together, we build a better bank. Together, we win for Africa. The 2020 annual meetings of the African Development Bank have been exciting, intense, rich in debate and dialogues. That's what we do at the African Development Bank, thinking, mapping out new ways we can better support Africa. We discuss ways in which the bank will support Africa to rebuild better and stronger from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. We discuss how to further strengthen our institution. We discuss how to achieve long-term financial sustainability of the bank. We heard you, and I hear you.
Nous prenons note des énormes défis posés par la pandémie de Covid-19 et notamment des graves perturbations qu'elle engendre dans les plans de développement de nos pays membres régionaux, à cet égard, nous félicitons le groupe de la Banque d'avoir adopté la facilité de réponse rapide à la Covid-19 pour fournir une gamme flexible de solutions exceptionnelles de soutien afin d'atténuer les graves conséquences économiques et sociales de la pandémie au sein de nos PMR.
Ceci est le résultat de l'effort conjugué de tous. Et je voudrais tous vous remercier de ce travail collectif qui nous permet aujourd'hui de montrer notre unité dans la volonté d'accompagner notre banque.
Nous avons réélu Dr Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina de la République fédérale du Nigeria comme président du groupe de la banque pour les 5 prochaines années et lui souhaitons plein succès dans la conduite des travaux du groupe de la banque.
I still am awed by the results that we have just seen. Unanimity in this room, 100% voting, a true breakthrough moment. Congratulations, Mr. President Adesina, and may we continue to make history, especially in these 5 years, your next term.
I am deeply grateful for your collective trust, confidence, and support. I am greatly honored and humbled. It is yet another call, a call for selfless service to Africa and the African Development Bank. Today, a rainbow stretches from 81 member countries of the African Development Bank across the deep blue skies of Africa with one message: the rain is coming.
This year's annual meetings are taking place virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has plagued the entire world and hindered physical interaction. The bank, like other institutions, finds itself compelled to host its annual meetings virtually to be able to do and continue its business.
Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures.
Je voudrais signaler la décision historique du conseil d'administration de la banque qui a approuvé la facilité de réponse rapide contre la COVID-19 dotée de 10 milliards de dollars américains destinés à financer les plans de sortie de crise et à aider les pays membres régionaux et le secteur privé.
Africa needs a strong and stable African Development Bank group to support it through this pandemic and to help its economies rebound for better, healthier lives and livelihoods for its peoples. And the African Development Bank needs you, our shareholders, as you always have been, united and strong.
Deux événements importants dans la vie de notre institution ont marqué l'année 2019 et présageaient d'une année 2020 pleine de promesses. Il s'agit notamment de l'augmentation historique à Abidjan de 125% du capital de la Banque africaine de développement et de la reconstitution du Fonds africain de développement soutenu par l'ensemble des gouverneurs, relevant ainsi la capacité d'intervention de notre banque au profit du développement de notre continent. Cette belle perspective a malheureusement été perturbée par la pandémie de Covid-19, qui n'a épargné
vote via a vote. I became the first president of the bank in its history to be re-elected by 100% vote of all its shareholders. And I'm most grateful and very appreciative. This was very important. It shows the transparency of our bank.
Representing the chairperson of the African Union Commission. We want to welcome Madam Finda Koroma, Vice President ECOWAS, representing the President of ECOWAS. Welcome the chairperson of the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank Group, His Excellency Ken Ofori-Atta. We want to welcome all governors of the African Development Bank Group. Of course, we want to welcome Ayodeji Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, and his beautiful wife, Grace. Excellency, Mr. Chairperson of the Board of Governors, ladies and gentlemen, you're all welcome. Please forgive me if I did not get protocols correct, because I just got a list of confirmed dignitaries. I'm sure there are other dignitaries who will be connecting as we go on. Hopefully they will bring their names to me and I will recognize them. But you can be sure that it will be such a very arduous task to recognize each and every one. But I say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very important occasion that I call the beginning of the end. Mr. Chairperson, honorable governors, we're gathered here once again today to witness the solemn swearing-in ceremony of the president-elect of the African Republic of Cote d'Ivoire. I'm therefore pleased to welcome you as Secretary General of the African Development Bank Group to this momentous occasion. On this August occasion, though happening in September, as the bank inaugurates its president for his second term of office, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to you all for gracing our event. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present to you the program for today, which will be as follows. We will start with a statement by the chairperson of the Boards of Governors, Honorable Kenneth Ofori-Attah. Then we will read the resolution on the election of the president, as well as the biography of the president-elect. And then the president will take the oath of office administered by the chairperson of the Board of Governors. And also there will be the reading and the signing of the record of oath of office by the chairperson of the Board of Governors. And thereafter, we will invite for his inaugural statement and address the president of the bank group. And we will take statements from the representative of the government of Nigeria, the representative of the government of Cote d'Ivoire, and few other statements by, say, heads of state or former heads of state who may want to give some statements. So, and those will be quite few in view of time. And of course, with that, we will conclude the swearing-in ceremony. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to present to you His Excellency, Mr. Kenneth Ofori-Attah, Chairperson of the Boards of Governors of the African Development Bank Group and Minister of Finance of the Republic of Ghana, to deliver his statement. Mr. Chairperson, over to you.
Thank you very much. Where is the mic? Can you there? Good morning. Thank you very much. Distinguished outgoing chair of the Board of Governors, honorable governors, alternative governors, Doc Akinwumi Adesina, president-elect, executive directors, the vice president, Ms. Swazi Chabalala, secretary general, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and great staff in this bank. Thank you very much indeed for coming to witness the occasion of the swearing-in of the president-elect of the Africa Development Bank Group. This ceremony is historic in the sense that this is the first time an electronic voting system has been used to elect the president of the bank. The first time a sitting president seeking re-election has received a unanimous endorsement, obtaining 100% from both regional and non-regional members of the bank. And the first time a swearing-in has been telecast. COVID is forcing us to reimagine our future. The African Development Bank has, under your leadership, Mr. President, been integral to the spirit of economic growth on the continent in recent years. The reorganization of management and the restructuring of the bank's operations around the high fives, which represent a response to Africa's more critical development needs, of your ability to foresee and design appropriate solutions for the times. The dynamism witnessed in this bank in the last 5 years was epitomized in the success of the historic 125% general capital increase from 93 billion to 208 billion, the largest capital increase in the bank's history. In addition, in these uncertain times, you have demonstrated leadership through the 10 billion COVID-19 response facility to assist member countries to protect lives and livelihoods and begin to rehabilitate our economies. Mr. President, your historical election was cast in the shadows of an unprecedented time. Africa is facing a double crisis, health and economic crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are in the middle of the first recession in sub-Saharan Africa in the last 25 years, and a depression which may well last 3 years. Many of our economies are facing economic contraction of up to 15% of GDP and severe liquidity challenges. We stand a risk of between 26 to 39 million Africans being pushed into extreme poverty. We urgently need liquidity and debt sustainability solutions in order to truly recover from this pandemic. Currently, it is estimated Africa needs $100 billion each year over the next 3 years to combat the effects of the pandemic. These are not normal times. We need tailored African solutions to our problem, and as Africa's premier bank, the AfDB is best suited to lead this effort of the finance ministers to put Africa back on a sustainable plane. Mr. President, Africa has made tremendous progress in achieving the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The AfCFTA is bringing together 55 of our countries with a combined population of 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP of more than 2.5 trillion. The AfCFTA is expected to consolidate the African market, making it easier for its businesses to reach greater economies of scale, promote the development of regional value chains, and lower costs of trading for businesses. According to a study undertaken by UNECA, the AfCFTA can significantly boost intra-African trade from 12% to 52% by 2022. A 1% increase in international trade for Africa means 70 billion in new revenue for the continent. A focused implementation of the AfCFTA will accelerate the implementation of the bank's I-5s, the AU Agenda 2063, and Africa's recovery from the pandemic. The AfCFTA is a critical step in our collective vision of an Africa beyond aid, and Ghana is humbled and privileged to host the Secretariat. Mr. President, in the last few months, our discussions and deliberations have focused on the governance of the bank. These conversations highlight the urgency to reposition the bank as a world-class institution capable of building resilience for a post-COVID-19 Africa. We need to continue to steer and direct the bank's effort to setting global standards of excellence, integrity, commitment to service, and responsiveness to the challenges of the continent. But how do we reimagine Africa? That we have to leverage its natural and human resources to eliminate poverty and become the Eden of prosperity and human rights for the next generation. Mr. President, governors, we must question fundamental norms for this new era. Why are commodity exchanges not on the continent? Why do we pay an African premium when we go to the market? Why are we subject to the whims of rating agencies? Why do we keep sovereign reserves outside of our continent and go back to borrow at higher rates? Why do we need to spend so much on insurance premiums? Why do we continue to tolerate illicit financial flows, which is about $70 billion a year? Why do we have over 100 trillion of assets under management in the West, earning marginal and subpar and negative rates? and Africa still needs $100 billion each year to be able to finance its infrastructure. These are many more global institutional arrangements with deep unconscious bias against the continent. The AfDB should work with African finance ministers to change this. Let me not miss the issue of the digitalization of the continent. Mr. President, Africa currently has about 17% revenue to GDP ratio compared to 34% revenue to GDP ratio for the EU. Our revenues and taxes are about 439 billion, which means we can have about 900 billion with digitalization. We can finance our own recovery if we do it. Let me use this opportunity to once again thank my colleague who has just left the seat, Madam Kaba, for her wisdom in guiding us to achieve this miraculous show of unity among all of us. I also truly want to acknowledge the non-regionals and the U.S. for rising to the call for unity at this time. This shows a collective wisdom, collective trust that we can build up on to create the bank that we want to have. I thank them for that. Mr. President, we have an opportunity to pursue economic justice for our people. There has never been a more opportune time to challenge the global financial infrastructure that is inherently biased towards Africa. We stand at the precipice of history. We'll have to answer the question posterity will ask of our leadership. What did you do to challenge the unjust system? As I on your fortitude, Mr. President, and commitment in the face of our recent challenges, I'm reminded of one of Ghana's Adinkra symbols, Inframadan, which is a symbol of resilience and readiness. It is my firm belief that this historic victory is only the beginning of greater things to come. I am in no doubt that we have secured the right leadership to drive us towards these and other exciting expectations. We must muster the needed courage and will to push further the frontiers of transforming the continent. On our part, we, the Board of Governors, will remain resolute in our duty and support the President and management of this bank. I truly believe in the manifest destiny of Africa. I know that your second tenure as President of Africa Development Bank will be characterized by a period of rapid transformation towards the realization of the vision of an Africa beyond aid, a beautiful Africa. Let me leave you, Mr. President, with a little poem. Ever insurgent let me be, make me more daring than devout. From slick contentment set me free, and fill me with a buoyant doubt. Buoyant doubt, which is really the chemistry of faith and humility, so that you build a greater bank for us. Mr. President, you earned a new mandate in the most historic fashion. We are expectant. Africa is expectant. This is a charge to you, a continent and God to glorify. Congratulations once again, Dr. Adesina, for making the continent proud. Thank you, and God bless our continent.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
You got it?
I know we're holding this meeting virtually, but we can afford to give the chairperson the virtual time. A bit louder. Can we please? And let me use this opportunity to recognize His Excellency Mr. Atiku Abubakar, a former Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria. Also, I will not forget the Ambassador of Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, who is present. Your Excellency, you're welcome. And of course, I will not forget the executive directors of the African Development Bank Group, who are ably represented physically here by the Dean, Dr. Brido Kogu, the Dean of the Board, as well as Edie Kenya Bale of the Sierra Leone-Ghana constituency. Of course, the executive directors are all connected. Welcome, executive directors of the African Development Bank. Honorable governors, I will go straight to read the resolution and biography of the President of the African Development Bank. I will start with the resolution. The Board of Governors adopted resolution B/BG/2020/06, adopted at the third sitting of the 55th annual meeting of the African Development Bank on the 27th of August, 2020. And the theme of the resolution is election of the President of the African Development Bank. The governors, the Board of Governors, having regard to 1, the agreement establishing the African Development Bank, in particular Articles 1, which deals with the purpose, Article 4, which deals with the structure, Article 29, which deals with the Board of Governors and its powers, Article 31, which deals with the President, Article 31, which deals with Board of Governors and procedure, Article 35, which has to do with the voting process, Article 36, which deals with the appointment of the President, and Article 37, which deals with the office of the President. Second, the rules of procedure of the boards of governors of the bank. And third, the rules of procedure governing the election of the President of the bank as amended. Recalling Article 2 of the rules of procedure for the election of the President, which designates the steering committee as the subsidiary body of the Board of Governors responsible for the general administration of the electoral process to the office of President. Further recalling 1, Resolution B/BG/2019/12, adopted by this board during the 54th annual meeting of the bank on the 12th of June 2019, the timetable and procedure for the election of the President of the bank. And 2, Resolution B/BG/2020/extra01, adopted by this board at the 6th extraordinary meeting of the Board of Governors of this bank on the 27th of July, 2020, concerning the adoption of the report of the Steering Committee of the Board of Governors on the election of the President, recommending the virtual election of the President of the African Development Bank due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Having considered 1, the report of the meeting of the Steering Committee of the Board of Governors for the election of the President of the bank on the 12th February 2020, contained in document ADB/BG/CD/AG/2020/01, noting that as of the 31st January 2020, which was the deadline set for the deposit of candidatures, only 1 nominee for the post of President, Dr. Akinwumi Ayodeji Adeshina, was duly presented. 2, the report of the meeting of the Steering Committee held on the 6th of July 2020, contained in document /BG/CD/AG/2020/03. 3, the report of the meeting of the Steering Committee held on the 21st of August 2020, contained in document ADB/BG/CD/AG/2020/03, 2020/04. And 4, the report of the results on the election of the president contained in the official record of the 2020 annual meetings. Hereby resolves to declare Dr. Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina re-elected as president of the African Development Bank for a second term of 5 years with effect from 1st September 2020. I haven't read the resolution. Of course, that resolution is tied to one candidate, the sole candidate presented for election of the bank for 2020 during the annual meetings. And that takes me to the reading of the biography of the president, Dr. Akinwumi Ayodeji Adesina, president of the African Development Bank Group. Dr. Akinwumi A. Adesina is the 8th elected president of the African Development Bank Group. He was first elected to the position on May 28, 2015, by the bank's Board of Governors at its annual meetings held in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. So Abidjan is special to you, Mr. President. Dr. Adesina is a globally renowned development economist and agricultural development expert with more than 30 years of international experience. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in agricultural economics with a first-class honors from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria, in 1981. He was the first student to obtain a first-class honors in agricultural economics in the history of the university. He holds a master's degree, 1985, and a PhD in agricultural economics, 1988, from Purdue University, Indiana, United States of America, where he won the Outstanding PhD Thesis Award for that year. Dr. Adesina won the prestigious Rockefeller Foundation Social Science Fellowship in 1988, which launched him into his international career. A bold reformer as Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria from 2011 to 2015, Dr. Adesina turned the agricultural sector of Nigeria around within 4 years. Under his tenure, Nigeria ended 40 years of corruption in the fertilizer sector by developing and implementing an innovative electronic wallet system, which directly provides farmers with subsidized farm inputs at scale using their mobile phones. Within the 4 years of his launch, this electronic wallet system reached 15 million farmers, dramatically transforming their lives. The electronic wallet system has now gone global and is currently being implemented in Afghanistan and several African countries. I know this CV will take some bit of time for me to read, so my throat is getting dry. Please get me some water. A firm believer in private sector-led growth, Dr. Adesina radically changed the perception of agriculture in Nigeria from that of subsistence to viable business that successfully attracted $5.6 billion in private sector investments. He also led financing initiatives to support youth engagement in agriculture and small and medium enterprises. Ultimately, under his leadership, Nigeria's food production expanded by an additional 21 million metric tons. Prior to his appointment as Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Adesina was the Vice President, Policy and Partnerships of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, where he led several bold and innovative policy and finance initiatives that leveraged over $4 billion in bank finance commitments to Africa's agricultural sector. Working with African heads of state and ministers of finance, leaders in the commercial banking industry, and central bank governors across several African countries, Dr. Adesina successfully led one of the largest global efforts to leverage domestic bank finance for the agricultural sector. Prior to joining AGRA in 2008, he had served as Associate Director and Regional Director for the Southern Africa Office of the Rockefeller Foundation for over a decade. Dr. Adesina was Principal Economist for the West Africa Rice Development Association from 1990 to 1995, Senior Economist and Social Science Coordinator for the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, 1995 to 1998, an Assistant Principal Economist of the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics from 1988 to 1990. A prolific writer, Dr. Adesina has authored over 70 scholarly publications on policy, agricultural development, and African development issues. He's globally respected economist and has served as the president of the African Association of Agricultural Economists, as well as on the editorial board of several academic journals, including International Journal of Agricultural Economists. He was awarded the Outstanding Black Agricultural Economics Award by the association, the American Association of Agricultural Economists. He was a distinguished African scholar at Cornell University in the United States. Dr. Adesina has served several distinctions, has received several distinctions and global awards. He received the Yara Award, the Yara Prize in 2007 in Oslo, Norway, for his leadership in pioneering innovative approaches to improve agriculture, access to agricultural inputs for African farmers. A Distinguished Alumni Award from Purdue University, United States of America in 2008. Distinguished Alumni Award in 2009, and the Grand Commander of Great Ife in 2013, both from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. Bolog Cast Communications Award in 2010 by the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology, United States of America, for his global leadership on agricultural science and technology. In May 2011, Franklin and Marshall College, United States of America, awarded Dr. Adesina an honorary doctorate of human letters. In 2014, he was awarded an honorary doctorate of agriculture by Purdue University, his alma mater. In 2015, he was awarded an honorary doctorate of science from the Adekunle Ajasin University, Nigeria. In the same year, he received an honorary doctorate of science from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. In March 2017, Dr. Adesina received an honorary doctorate of management from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria. In 2017, Purdue University in the United States of America decorated Dr. Adesina with its highest honor, the Order of the Griffin, a rare honor given only to 50 persons since 1893, including to Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon. In May 2018, Michigan State University in the United States awarded Dr. Adesina an honorary doctorate degree in agriculture. In October 2018, Dr. Adesina received an honorary doctorate of management science from the National Defense Academy in Nigeria. In October 2018, Dr. Adesina received an honorary doctorate of letters from the Afe Babalola University, Nigeria. In June 2019, Dr. Adesina was awarded an honorary doctorate of science from the University of Alberta, Canada. In November 2019, Dr. Adesina was awarded an honorary doctorate of entrepreneurship by Bowen University in Nigeria. In 2010, Dr. Adesina was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as one of 17 world leaders to galvanize international support for the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. In 2019, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres appointed Dr. Adesina as one of the 23 global leaders to help end hunger and malnutrition. Dr. Adesina has served globally as one of the commissioners for the Global Climate Commission, co-chaired by the Bill Gates and former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to tackle global climate change. Dr. Adesina also served on the Global Panel on Agriculture and Food Systems for Nutrition. In 2013, Dr. Adesina won the Forbes Africa Person of the Year award for his bold reforms in Nigeria's agricultural sector. He is the first public sector minister in Africa to win the award. The influential leadership newspaper in Nigeria selected Dr. Adesina as the 2013 Public Servant of the Year for his bold policy reforms, transparency, and public accountability. In 2015, Dr. Adesina was awarded the Extraordinary Achievement Award by the Silverbird Television in recognition of his sterling performance and achievements as Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture. In 2012, Dr. Adesina was conferred with Nigeria's second highest national honor, the Commander of the Order of the Niger, for his outstanding service to his country, Nigeria. In recognition of his outstanding leadership, passion, and dedication to accelerating Africa's development, he was awarded the highest national honors of Senegal, Cameroon, Madagascar, Togo, Liberia, Niger, and Tunisia. In 2017, the World Food Prize Foundation awarded Dr. Adesina the World Food Prize, generally referred to as the Nobel Hunger Fighters. In 2017, December, Bill Gates listed Dr. Adesina's award of the World Food Prize and his gesture to use it to support the youth in Africa as one of the segments of 2017. In December 2017, Dr. Adesina was ranked in the top 15 of the 100 most influential global leaders of multilateral development organizations. In May 2019, Dr. Adesina was awarded the prestigious Sonhak Peace Prize in Seoul.
If you look at the bottom of the right panel, you can see two.
Please mute your microphones. In February 2019, Dr. Adesina was awarded the prestigious Sonhak Peace Prize in Seoul, South Korea, for his global leadership on agriculture, food security, transparency, dollar award prize money to the World Hunger Fighters Foundation that he established to fight global hunger. In April 2019, leading reputation management firm, Reputation Poll International, listed Dr. Adesina among the 100 most reputable people in the world. In October 2019, Dr. Adesina was awarded the Emeka Anyoko Lifetime Achievement Award for outstanding international icon by the Hallmarks of Labour Foundation, where Chief Anyoko, former Commonwealth Secretary General, said, and I quote, "Dr. Adesina's work and leadership are legendary, unprecedented, and worthy of emulation," unquote. On October 31st, 2019, Dr. Adesina led the African Development Bank to achieve the highest capital increase since the bank's establishment in 1964, when shareholders raised the general capital of the bank by 125%. This increase to the bank's capital by 115 billion from 93 billion culminated into a total of $208 billion, a historic achievement for Africa. On the 6th of December 2019, Adesina was named the African of the Year by the All Africa Business Leaders Award in recognition of his bold leadership and innovation of the Africa Investment Forum, which opened up billions of dollars of investment into the African continent. He was recognized as the Forbes Africa Person of the Year in 2019. On 29 February 2020, Dr. Adesina was named African of the Year 2019 by the African Leadership magazine. Dr. Adesina was awarded the prestigious title after receiving 60% of the votes cast by some 1 million readers of the magazine. On August 27, 2020, Dr. Akiwumi Ayodeji, AAA, which is AAA, was re-elected as the president of the African Development Bank with 100% of the votes of the shareholders, regional and non-regional, the first of such in the history of the bank since 1964. I thought somebody will clap. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to present to you Dr. Akiwumi Ayodeji Adesina, the newly re-elected president of the African Development Bank Group. Mr. President. Left hand. Office. The oath of office.
Oath of office first.
Excellencies, the time has now come. The time has now come. Excellencies, the time has now come for the president to take the oath of office. I would like you to help me and join me witness as the president takes the oath of office. He will take the oath of office before the chairperson of the Board of Governors, who will administer the oath. I now have the pleasure and privilege to invite Honorable Kenneth Ofori-Atta, chairperson of the Board of Governors, to read the oath and thereafter sign the record of oath of office. Chairperson.
Thank you very much.
You read to him. You read and then he responds.
Oath of office for the president.
Microphone.
I, Akiwumi Ayodeji Adesina, President of the African Development Bank,
President of the African Development Bank,
solemnly declare and undertake before the chairperson
solemnly declare and undertake before the chairperson
of the Board of Governors
of the Board of Governors
and before the members of the Board of Directors
and before the members of the Board of Directors
that I will abide by the provisions of the agreement
that I will abide by the provisions of the agreement
establishing the African Development Bank,
establishing the African Development Bank,
its bylaws,
and regulations,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge my duties and functions
as laid down in those laws and regulations
with loyalty,
discretion and conscience,
and
will regulate my conduct as president with the interests of the bank only in view, in accordance with the provisions of Articles 37 and 38
in accordance with the provisions of Articles 37 and 38
of the agreement establishing the African Development Bank.
of the agreement establishing the African Development Bank. So help me God.
Correct. Should we sit?
Thank you. Thank you. Right here?
Yes.
Okay. Ah bon, ok. Ça va. Voilà. Ça va. Thank you. Pour la deuxième mandat, il n'y a plus de papier. Secretary General, did you increase the number of signing we're going to do? Voila, let's see.
Excellencies, before we continue to the next, which is the reading of the record of oath by the chairperson, let me recognize His Excellency George Ware, the President of Liberia, who has joined the meeting, as well as His Excellency Alpha Conde, President of Guinea, who has also joined the meeting. Mr. Chairperson, I invite you now to read the record of oath.
I, the undersigned, Kenneth Oforiatta, acting in my capacity as chairperson of the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank, duly designated at the 5th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank that was held in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, from 26 to 27 August 2020. Having regard to Articles 4, 29, 37, and 38 of the agreement establishing the bank, having regard to the rules of procedure governing the election of the President of the African Development Bank, considering that by virtue of Resolution B/BG/2020/06, adopted on 27 August 2020, concerning the election of the President of the African Development Bank, the Board of Governors unanimously elected Mr. Akinwumi Oyadeje Adesina as President of the bank for a term of 5 years, with effect from today, 1st September 2020. Considering that the election carried out by the Board of Governors is in accordance with the provisions of Articles 29 and 36 of the Bank Agreement, and that the President has accepted his second term in office in accordance with the conditions and modalities defined by the Bank, hereby attest that on this Tuesday, 1st September 2020, Mr. Akinwumi Oyadeje Adesina took the oath of office before me and the members of the Board of Directors of the Bank to serve a second term. That the certified test of the oath is annexed to this record, and that the President took by the oath of office to discharge his functions as President of the Bank with loyalty, discretion, and conscience, as well as to conduct himself as President of the Bank, having only and constantly at the back of his mind the interests of the bank in conformity with Articles 37 and 38 of the agreement establishing the bank. Hereby declare, having officially administered and discharged the oath of office of Mr. Akinwumi Oyadeje Adesina, in witness whereof I hereby sign this record, which shall be certified by the Secretary General of the bank and issued under the bank's official seal on this first day of September 2020.
The chairperson will now sign the record of oath.
Okay.
And the record will now be certified.
Is that all?
Yes.
I thought that was an employment letter. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Take this now.
This is humbling. Yeah.
Hmm?
What is the one thing you would like us to do?
I'll tell you what we talk.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please allow me now to invite the president of the African Development Bank Group, Dr. Akinwumi A. Adesina, who has just been recently minted, to deliver his inaugural address.
Thank you. Acknowledge these guys are not happy at all. Good one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
General, you have distinguished yourself as a general throughout these events, even leading up to this. Please give it up to the Secretary General. Your Excellency, President Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellencies, President Paul Kagame of Rwanda, Your Excellency, President Alpha Conde, my big brother from the President of the Republic of Guinea, Excellence, Monsieur le Président Denis Sassou Nguesso, mon cher grand frère de la République du Congo à Oyo, President George Weah of Liberia, and all other excellencies, heads of states that are here present. Excellencies, former heads of states and governments. In particular, I would like to welcome His Excellency President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who first appointed me, nominated me for this office in my first term, who also appointed me to be Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If there was never a beginning, there cannot be a continuation. Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of Africa, in particular here present to honor me, His Excellency Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, the Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa, the CEO of NEPED, the former Commonwealth Secretary General, Chief Anyako, Honorable Niala Kaba, the outgoing Chairperson of the Bureau of Governors of the African Development Bank Group, and the Minister of National Planning of Cote d'Ivoire, Madame Quiet First, Force Tranquille. Please give it up to her. The new chairperson of the Bureau of Governors of the African Development Bank Group, my dear brother, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister of Finance of Ghana. Governors of the African Development Bank from 81 capitals around the world, members of the boards of directors of the African Development Bank, and we are joined by the Dean of the Board, Dr. Okogo. Honorable ministers, heads of regional economic communities, executive governors from my home country, Nigeria, that are here. And I recognize Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who is joining us this morning, heads of diplomatic institutions, my extraordinary staff of the African Development Bank. I want a bigger clap for those guys. My friends, my family members, my darling wife, Grace. Please join me here. My darling wife, Grace, my rock, my helper, my counselor, my sweetheart. I love you, honey. And my children, Rochimi and Shegun, Alex, Emily, and our granddaughters, Noemi and Audrey, who was just born 2 days ago. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, she wants to sit, but not yet. I thank God Almighty for making me able to stand before you today. I give God all the glory for all he has done and continues to do in my life, a life which I have fully dedicated to him for selfless service to humanity. And above all, I am grateful for the opportunity to serve Africa passionately to the very best of my God-given ability. I stand before you today to speak, but I speak for two people, myself and my darling wife, Grace. For without Grace, and her other name is Yemisi, I will not be here today. I love you, honey. Thank you always for standing with me with prayers and encouragement. I am extremely grateful. Thank you. I will definitely not be here without the extraordinary support of my country, Nigeria, and my President, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari. Mr. President, you nominated me, you stood by me, you supported me. Thank you very much, sir. I'm grateful to the Minister of Finance of Nigeria, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, and the entire government and people of Nigeria who supported me. I will not be here without the African Union. I will not be here without the strong support of all African heads of state and governments, starting with my home president here, host president, His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara, and all your excellencies that I've joined here today. I will not be here without the strong support of Africa's retired heads of state and government, led by His Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo. I will not be here without the youth of Africa, the elders of Africa, the women of Africa, and the prayers of Africa. I will not be here without the incredible decision by all my governors, shareholders of the bank from 81 countries around the world for getting me here. I stand on their collective pedestal. I stand tall today because of you all. Your support, prayers, and good wishes inspired us all. We are grateful to you all. Thank you all very much. Your Excellencies, 4 days ago, 7/2020, I was re-elected as President of the African Development Bank Group. I wish to thank you all for your incredible support, the mark of confidence you all collectively placed in me. You elected me with 100% of all the votes of regional and non-regional shareholders of the bank. without any exception. This is unparalleled in the bank's 56-year history, and for this, I am extremely grateful. What honor, what confidence, and what affirmation. You, our shareholders, have showcased the African Development Bank's exceptionally high standards and its commitment to transparency and good corporate governance. I am deeply grateful for your collective trust, confidence, and support. Above all, I am greatly honored and deeply humbled. Your Excellencies, today, a rainbow stretches from the 81 member countries of the African Development Bank across the deep blue skies of Africa with one message: the rain is gone. Gone are the dark clouds that held us down. I stand today with all humility as the president elected by all. I will be the president for all. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, over the past 5 years since you elected me as president, we have collectively charted a new way forward for Africa, one that has given stronger hope for the continent's development. The high fives of the bank light up and power Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life of the people of Africa, which were developed to accelerate the delivery of the 10-year strategy of the bank. They have been implemented with deliberateness, speed, and rigor. Have taken hold of the continent and become the keys for accelerating Africa's development. The United Nations Development Program has shown that achieving the high fives will lead to the achievement of 90% of the Sustainable Development Goals, and of course, of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Your Excellencies, over the past 5 years, the bank has delivered impressive results on these high fives. 18 million people with access to electricity. 141 people had access to improved agricultural technologies for food security. 15 million people with access to finance from private investments. 101 million people with access to improved transport from infrastructure, and 60 million people with access to water and sanitation. We've achieved collectively impressive results. The bank's High Five programs have impacted 335 million people. Now that's what the African Development Bank Group, your bank, is all about: people impact. Our non-sovereign operations for the private sector increased 40% from $1.5 billion in 2015 to $2.1 billion in 2019, with the highest level of $2.5 billion achieved in 2016. We have been accountable for the climate since COP21 in Paris. The bank's climate financing expanded from 9% when you elected me in 2015 to 36% by 2019, an increase of 400%. We've now targeted to reach $25 billion in climate finance by 2021, God willing. Through the innovative and groundbreaking Africa Investment Forum in 2018 and 2019, we were able to attract a combined $78.8 billion worth of investment interest into Africa. In every country, the bank's impacts are felt. We expanded our presence to 44 countries, including across fragile states. Our staff, my beloved staff, they risk their lives to deliver. And we are delivering more for women with the implementation of the affirmative finance action for women that we otherwise call AFAWA. Our goal is on track to leverage $3 billion for women and women businesses. We launched a Gender Equality Trust Fund, the first ever in the bank. And we are advancing on gender markers of all projects of the bank. We must continue to strongly support women. For when women win, Africa wins. Your Excellencies, dear governors, winning for Africa's development is what you set us up to do. You, the shareholders, supported the historic general capital increase of the bank, raising the capital of the bank from $93 billion to $208 billion. This represents an increase of $105 billion, the highest in the history of the bank. As shareholders, you strongly supported a 32% increase in for the African Development Fund, which we call around here ADF, in our 15th replenishment to support low-income countries and fragile states. Today, the ADF countries receive 700% larger resources than they did in 2015 because they can also access the commercial window of the bank. Your Excellencies, we are delivering value for money to our shareholders. The bank, your bank, has the lowest cost among all multilateral development banks. The African Development Fund has also been rated as the second best managed concessional financing institution globally. Over the past 5 years, we have maintained our AAA rating by all three major rating agencies, thanks to your continued extraordinary support as our shareholders. The Multilateral Organization Performance Assessment Network, otherwise known as MOPAN, as #1 along with the World Bank. Publish What You Fund ranked the bank as the 4th most transparent globally. In times of organizations that people wish to work for in Africa, the bank's position as an employer of choice increased from 82 out of 100 top companies in 2015 to #4 in 2018 and #3 in 2019, and we will not rest #1. Your Excellencies, we are also a very responsive bank. As COVID-19 shocks began, the bank's board of directors approved a $10 billion COVID-19 response facility to immediately support the countries and also project investments for the countries, especially to contain fiscal meltdowns. We launched a $3 billion social bond in the global market, the largest US dollar-denominated social bond ever in world history. These actions reflect our ambitions, commitment, and unyielding responsibility to support, stabilize, and strengthen African economies. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed everything globally. It has thrown Africa's growth back. The continent has lost gains in economic growth that were achieved over the last decade. Africa's recovery will therefore be long and challenging. Now, we must help Africa build back boldly, but smartly, paying greater attention to quality growth, especially in the areas of health, climate, and the environment. As we look to the future, working with the boards of directors, the bank will pay increased attention to supporting Africa with quality health care infrastructure and building on its comparative advantage in infrastructure. The bank's infrastructure work will focus on economic infrastructure, quality physical infrastructure, health infrastructure. COVID-19 also opens up new opportunities and a greater sense of urgency to build Africa's manufacturing capacity, industrial development, and critically needed industrial value chains that must be supported by enabling infrastructure and policies. Special attention will be given to regional industrial value chains and strengthening of financial markets in order to expand intra-regional trade and competitiveness and to boost Africa continental free trade area. Your Excellencies, let there be no doubt the challenges ahead are still many, including poverty, inequality, fragility, high youth unemployment, significant infrastructure financing gaps, and sustainable debt management. As we look to the future, let me assure you the bank will play a greater role in policy dialogues with countries. We will support sustainable debt management, boost green growth, and accelerate the provision of jobs for youth on our beloved continent. More than ever before, we will expand partnerships, financial partnerships, knowledge partnerships, and investment partnerships. Stronger inclusive partnerships with civil society, academia, and knowledge centers of excellence. We will reach out and tilt more global capital towards Africa, joining investment hands across the globe to support the needs of the continent. The bank will leverage its brand, its knowledge, and resources to help do more and better for Africa. We will deepen the Africa Investment Forum and make it a critical driver for these bold investment partnerships to help move Africa faster forward. Your Excellencies, we will ensure that Africa's youth potential is full. In this regard, the bank will support the establishment of youth entrepreneurship investment banks, banks that will help to mobilize and deploy capital to drive the entrepreneurship of the youth of Africa in ways that are systemic, scalable, and sustainable. The shadows of youth unemployment and migration out of Africa must give way to a glowing light of successful youth-driven businesses all across Africa. Africa's youth must stay in Africa, develop Africa, and project Africa's glorious future. We will build on the great successes of agriculture by scaling up technologies to reach tens of millions of farmers, supporting Africa to build competitive agricultural value chains. We will add value to what we produce in Africa and provide creative and high-tech opportunities for massive youth engagement in agriculture and agribusiness. Your Excellencies, the future beckons the bank to be more agile, and more selective, to scale up what's working already and reinforce its own institutional and human capacity, we will strengthen even areas of our weaknesses. Our bank must ensure its own long-term financial sustainability to drive Africa's growth further, deeper, and faster in the years to come. We must realize the dream of a prosperous Africa, a healthier Africa, a more resilient Africa, and a more developed Africa. Your Excellencies, my dear governors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when you first elected me 5 years ago, I had a vision. 5 years later, I have yet a vision to build on our collective achievements over the next 5 years. A vision to build a much stronger and resilient African Development Bank Group with the leadership and capacity to deliver greater quality impacts for the people of Africa while remaining financially strong and sustainable. So, our focus will be on institution, people, delivery, and sustainability. Each of these are encapsulated in the following 5 areas, which will combine with the programmatic high fives that I mentioned earlier to transform the development landscape of Africa. Build a stronger institution. Strengthen human capacity. Enhance effectiveness. Deepen quality and impact. And maintain financial sustainability. I'm going to pick them one at a time to be clear about what my vision is. Let me start with stronger institution. We're going to work hard to strengthen our institutional capacity, to improve human resources, to build a top-notch IT capacity, to enhance effectiveness and productivity in an increasingly digital age. Strengthen accountability, oversight, and compliance systems across board, and promote a stronger performance culture. In terms of strengthening human capacity, we will drive to be the preferred employer of choice in Africa. Hire and retain top talent. Improve staff experiences and value propositions. And enhance staff career development and mobility. In terms of enhanced effectiveness, we will do the following. Improving responsiveness to clients. Decentralized decision-making. More efficient systems and processes. And we will drive for cost effectiveness and greater value for money. In terms of accelerated quality and impacts, we will drive hard to ensure quality operations, enhance policy dialogues, knowledge, and debt management, strengthen environmental and social safeguards, and accelerate development impacts. And finally, in terms of financial sustainability, we will work hard to stabilize our prudential ratios, drive a stronger culture of cost effectiveness, balance development objectives and financial sustainability, optimize the bank's balance sheet, leverage global capital, private capital, to complement banks' resources, and ensure the bank attains its own intrinsic and standalone AAA rating for long-term sustainability. Your Excellencies, with your support as African heads of state and governments, with the support of the governors of the bank, led by our chairperson, with the support of all ministers of finance and national planning of development, with the support of all our shareholders from 81 countries, my esteemed board of directors and incredible staff, we will be ready from today, yet again, to roll up our sleeves and continue our collective work to deliver even greater results on our high fives for Africa, to light up and power Africa, to feed Africa, to industrialize Africa, to integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. The future beckons us for a more developed Africa and a much stronger and resilient African Development Bank. In our time, Africa must shine like the brightness of the sun. Together, united, we will achieve this. So today, yet again, let us move forward, driven by the power of our mission, inspired by the primacy of our vision, and emboldened by the strength of our togetherness. Together, we are stronger. Together, we achieve more. Together, we become resilient. Together, we build a better bank. Together, we win for Africa. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and may God bless Africa.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, can we please give another round of applause to the President? As you can imagine, that speech sets the agenda for the next 5 years. Yes, so it's not an easy one. We will proceed to the next segment of hearing from representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, and thereafter hear from those who desire to make some remarks, to pass across a message. And we will, after these two speeches, we'll take speeches from President Sassou Nguesso, President Kagame, President Conde, President Ware, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, former President of Nigeria, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President of Nigeria. We'll take from the representative of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Professor Harrison, Executive Secretary of UNECA, Dr. Vera Songwe, the CEO of NEPAD, Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, the Secretary General of COMESA, Mrs. Chilesiwe Kapepwe, Mr. Taleb Bakuche, Secretary General of WUMA, and Ms. Frida Koroma, the Vice President of ECOWAS. After the two speeches, we'll take goodwill messages from these individuals that have listed and in the order they have listed them. May I call upon the representative of Nigeria speaking from your seat, the Chargé d'Affaires, Mr. Mohamed Ghana, to make the speech on behalf of Nigeria.
Your Excellencies, the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Honorable Kenneth Ofori-Atta, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Ghana, the former Chair of the Board of Governors, the Honorable Mrs. Niale Kaba, Minister for Planning and Development of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, Honorable Governors of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, Executive Directors of the bank, the Secretary General, senior management and staff of the bank, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and pleasure to be with you all today on the occasion of the swearing in of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the AfDB, following his re-election to a second term of office on 27 August 2020. On behalf of His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the people of Nigeria, I bring warm greetings. I want to specially thank His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, for his unflinching support to the African Development Bank. We very much appreciated his taking time off his busy schedule to take part in the virtual official opening ceremony of the annual meetings of the bank last week. Let me again thank Mrs. Niale Kaba for expertly steering the affairs of the Board of Governors over the last 1 year, and also congratulate Mr. Kenneth Ofori-Atta for his appointment to the Board of Governors for the next 1 year. I wish him the best during his tenure and a successful hosting of next year's annual meeting in Accra. I know that the efforts of the board are in safe hands. It is now my great pleasure to convey the heartfelt congratulations of our President and the people of Nigeria to you, Dr. Adesina, on your re-election as President of the AfDB Group to lead the institution for the next 5 years. We are proud of you, and we salute your passion for the bank and for Africa. The unanimity of the vote is a clear indication of the support of the entire membership of the AfDB for your leadership and program, and I use this opportunity to thank all of my fellow governors for their support to you. I know you will live up to the expectations of all stakeholders. Congratulations. In your first term, you successfully introduced your vision for the bank and for the development of Africa under the acclaimed High Five agenda to light up and power Africa, feed Africa, integrate Africa, industrialize Africa, and raise the quality of life of the people of Africa. It has been noted by experts that if we succeed in diligently implementing the High Fives, it will automatically mean that Africa will meet most of the SDGs of the United Nations, which itself is a global blueprint for development and poverty reduction in a sustainable manner. Under your leadership and the support of the Board of Directors and staff, the bank has made admirable progress, and we are confident that these gains will be consolidated and scaled up in the next 5 years. I am aware that there are a number of reform initiatives started during your first tenure, designed to strengthen the bank. Bringing this to quick conclusion will certainly help accelerate the achievements of the 5 A's, and I am confident that this will be done. I commend you for your work and passion for Africa, and wish you even more success in the ladies and gentlemen. Our journey to this point has been a long and arduous one, with twists and turns, but we managed to navigate our way to a safe harbor, guided by the golden compass of our common commitment to a strong bank and the well-being of the people of Africa. I appreciate the hard work, cooperation, and sincerity of all governors in tackling the challenges that face the bank in the lead up to the annual meetings and election of the president. I was personally pleased to see the smooth virtual voting process. We showcased the technical prowess of the bank in successfully organizing our annual meetings and conducting the elections on a virtual platform. I believe that whatever position we may have taken individually on the various issues that arose throughout this period, everyone had the best interest of the bank at heart. I am sure the bank has taken the relevant lessons from the recent experience and will work to strengthen the institution from this experience. I therefore use this opportunity to appeal to all stakeholders, member countries, the board of directors, senior management and staff to join hands to push the bank to greater heights of achievement, delivery, and efficiency in the interest of Africa. The bank has done well in maintaining its AAA ratings under a very difficult operating international environment, and we congratulate it on its success in raising the $3 billion bond recently in the international financial markets to augment its own resources for its developmental efforts on the continent. Furthermore, I appreciate the action of the bank with the support of the board of directors in providing emergency COVID-19 assistance to regional member countries towards stabilizing their economies as they deal with the present health and commercial emergencies of the pandemic. The bank's relevance to its regional member countries is directly related to its preparedness and ability to stand with them in challenging times like we are currently in. I wish to use this opportunity again to urge the bank to also consider intervention in the area of health infrastructure, as this will help both in coping with the present crisis as well as in preparing for possible future episodes. We note examples on the ground of projects in the areas of infrastructure development, the use of guarantee instruments to de-risk investments and promote trade, as well as private sector development. These are important platforms around which the bank can help in the creation of jobs in Africa, this being one of the most urgent challenges of our time. The bank needs to step up its efforts in helping African countries to create jobs for our youth, because it is clear that governments alone cannot do this. We truly need this in order to address the problems of unauthorized migration and extremism across the continent. We believe that the recent uplift of under the GCI 7 and ADF 15 provides an opportunity to scale up its intervention in member countries. With the various domestic reform efforts in our countries, including in the areas of resource mobilization, public finance management, improving the environment for doing business, etc., as well as the adoption of the African continental free trade, Africa is well positioned for a new era of growth. A strong AfDB will be able to play a catalyzing role in these efforts, both in terms of lending and policy advice. We all need to work together so that the next 5 years will deliver the high 5S at scale and truly transform the quality of life of the people of Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by once again Dr. Adesina, President of the AfDB, and wish him greater success in his second term. I thank our host, His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara, and the people of Cote d'Ivoire, Honorable Mr. Niale Kaba, and our chair, Honorable Mr. Ofori Atta. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ghana. Before I proceed to invite the representative of Cote d'Ivoire, permit me to recognize President Embalo Umaru Sikoko of Guinea-Bissau, who is connected to this and will also join the presidents to speak. And also, how can I forget Minister Adama Kone, Executive Director for Cote d'Ivoire, but also with a special mandate. My good friend, sir, we recognize you. Thank you very much. I invite now Her Excellency, the powerful Excellency, and former chairperson of the Board of and Governor for Cote d'Ivoire, representing the government of Cote d'Ivoire at this meeting, Ms. Niale Kaba, to make her remarks. Welcome, Madam.
Leurs Excellences,
Your Excellencies,
Leurs Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État,
Your Excellencies, heads of state, the chairperson of the boards of governors, my dear brother Kenneth Ofuriata, the president of the African Development Bank Group, distinguished participants, all protocols observed. It gives me pleasure to discharge this duty of taking the floor today on the occasion of the swearing in of the president of the African Development Bank Group. His Excellency, Mr. Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, would have loved to be physically present here. Because of his unavoidable absence, he has entrusted me with the task of conveying this message. So allow me, before anything else, to congratulate us all on the perfect holding of the 2020 annual meetings by video link, leading to the election of Mr. Akinwumi Adesina as president of the African Development Bank Group. And I would like to reiterate to him our most sincere and heartfelt congratulations on his brilliant election. President Adesina, your election with a score of 100% of votes cast is historic in the annals of the bank and testifies eloquently to the full and unstinting support of all shareholders of the bank. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as you were all aware, 2020 has been quite a difficult year for the African Development Bank Group with the threat on the organization of the 2020 annual meetings on account of the COVID-19 triggered crisis, as well as the whistleblower crisis which shook the very foundations of the bank. Fortunately, together with all governors, regional and non-regional alike, and the entire team of the bank, this situation and the crisis are already part of the bank's history. And what is even more, they made it possible to enhance the credibility, reputation, and trust of Africa's leading development institution, and also enhancing its legal underpinnings. President Adesina, you are getting out of this crisis more empowered with the renewed trust of all the governors as well as the boards of directors. And I would like to encourage you to forge ahead with your mission of ensuring the development of Africa via the high fives priorities which you have already outlined and the impact of which our experience. I am persuaded that you will be able to make those priorities adapted to the challenges occasioned by the COVID-19 crisis, as well as the sweeping changes which the entire world is experiencing. Ladies and gentlemen, on this solemn occasion, allow me to renew our trust to Mr. Kenneth Ofori Atta, incoming chairperson of the board of governors. My dear brother, I would like to reassure you that the senior management of the African Development Bank, at the helm of which is President Akinwumi Adesina, was really an inevitable partner, and we have been able to count on them throughout this term. And I can tell you that you can always count on them as you discharge your own term of office. And I wish you all the best. And to conclude, allow me, on behalf of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, as well as the government and people of Cote d'Ivoire, to wish Dr. Akinwumi Adesina the best. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May you please give one more round of applause to Madam Chair. Now I will call on President Kagame of Rwanda to make some brief remarks. Mr. President.
Excellencies, Dr. Adesina Akinwumi, gentlemen, I am delighted to personally take part in this ceremony.
Mr. President, we cannot hear you.
Mark the start of Dr. Adesina's second term as president of our bank, the African Development Bank. He has led the bank with integrity and purpose for the past 5 years, with the signature initiatives on agriculture, energy, infrastructure, education, and of course, digitalization, which links all of them up. The next 5 years promise to be even more noteworthy. Dr. Adesina, you have our full support as you continue to lead the African Development Bank through this COVID-19 period marked by turmoil, but also the prospect of a new opportunity for our continent. The African Development Bank has played a key role in ensuring that Africa's interests are reflected in the international agenda during this crisis. For this, we are appreciative. My brother, I wish the best of luck to you and your family in the years ahead. I thank you and congratulations once again.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your very warm remarks. I call on President Conde to make his remarks.
Messieurs les chefs d'État,
Your Excellencies, heads of state, distinguished members of the board of directors, I am really delighted to take note of the re-election of our brother with an unrivaled score. And this is testament to his commitment to the continent of Africa, as well as the trust of the regional and non-regional members of the bank and fund. And I am certain that the high fives will be more than ever before be accelerated, especially in terms of lighting up and power Africa. Following the conference leading to the 10 gigawatts endowment for Africa, which we support, we are also pleased and looking forward to an additional 30 gigawatts by 2030. And I am sure that the African Development Bank will play a leading role in this respect. We are also pleased to hear of the fact that this is the Youth Development Bank. The youth actually are a gift for the continent of Africa, and it could also be a curse. It will be a dividend if we can provide them with jobs, but a curse and a potential threat if we are unable to fulfill their aspirations. Let me also congratulate my sister-in-law, Grace, on how she has always stood beside you. And we are convinced that the energy you have put in over the past 5 years will be stepped up so that Africa can feed Africans, that we can transform our commodities and raw materials within our continent, and that we can also have infrastructure which will ease free trade amongst countries of Africa. Once again, hearty congratulations, and you have our full support. We also count on you for Africa to stay on the right track. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I call upon President George Weah of Liberia to make his remarks.
Excellency, governors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm honored to be part of this induction ceremony on this visual medium. Dr. Adesina, I want to use the occasion to congratulate you on your well-deserved re-elections as president of the African Development Bank. Liberia looked forward to the continuous partnership under your leadership. Dr. Adesina, my good friend, your re-election signifies Africa's and the world's confidence in your leadership. God bless you in your endeavors. Je dis bravo, mon frère, et congratulations.
All the best, my brother, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. I call on President Embalo Umaru Sikoko of Guinea-Bissau for his remarks. Is the president available?
Yes, sir.
May I invite President Embalo Umaru Sikoko of Guinea-Bissau to make his remarks. Mr. President.
Très bien, très bien. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président Adesina, Président de Banque Africaine.
Thank you very much, President Adesina, President of the African Development Bank. Mr. President, I am very honored to convey my hearty congratulations to you on your re-election as President of the African Development Bank. Let me just state this, having an election, 100% of the votes of regionals and non-regionals alike is something which could actually serve as a roadmap for you to forge ahead in your mission of steering this African financial ecosystem. In my capacity as President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, I wish to heartily congratulate you, not only you, but your entire family, as well as the team of the African Development Bank Group. Thank you very much, my dear brother and friend, Dr. Adesina.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very much appreciated. May I call on His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, former President of Nigeria, for his remarks.
Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, members of the Board of Directors of ADB, the newly inaugurated presidents of ADB, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me first congratulate Additional for making history, for the number of achievements he made within the first 5 years, and especially for all the members to re-elect him to continue for another 5 years. Let me also thank all the shareholders for supporting him. And I believe that his second tenure, he will even do better. Dr. Additional worked with me as my Minister for Agriculture and Natural Resources. And I know what he's made up of. And I believe he will not disappoint the shareholders. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I invite His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President of Nigeria, for his remarks.